Assalamu alaikum, Runtings Rude Boy, Nabil Aziz, becomingthealphamuslim.com, and the Becoming the Alpha Muslim podcast. Welcome to another episode. And today it's just going to be me, solo, and I'm going to try to get this episode done in under 30 minutes. But before we start, are you enjoying this podcast? Because if you are, I'd like to remind you to try to leave me a rating and review on iTunes, because that helps other people find the podcast and it helps me rank higher in the iTunes algorithm. So how you have to do that is you need to go to the iTunes app using whichever device you want. You can do it over your PC or your Mac or your iPhone, and basically do a search for Becoming the Alpha Muslim, and then first of all subscribe and then leave me a rating and review. It's going to take you a few steps to get it done, but I'd really appreciate it if you try. So if you've been reading Becoming the Alpha Muslim since the beginning, you'll know that one of the first blog posts I wrote was the definitive guide to halal and haram sex acts. And it was called something else back then. The original title was Muslims Like to F2. I still have that title, but I've sort of changed part of it to make it more search engine friendly. And after I published that blog post, it was a very polarizing blog post. There was a lot of criticism and also equal or more amounts of praise. I got a message. A lot of people messaged me in private telling me, they really appreciate me writing this, and there needs to be more content like this out there because, of the problems that Muslims are facing in their relationships. Anyway, there was one particular message from a Muslim woman on Reddit, and her name is Al-Mulaadhaat, and that's a pen name. So she contacted me because she's writing a sex manual for Muslim women. I'm going to read you the message that she sent me, and I've taken her permission to share this with you. She says, Assalamu alaikum. I'm an older Muslim woman, 50 plus, who's writing a book called The Pure Muslimah's Guide to Very Dirty Sex. Like you, I've noticed that Muslims don't have any good information out there about having sex. It's either biology or it's fiqh. Your piece is better than most, but it's still fiqh-centered. I get why. Your goal was to talk about the halal and haram, not give a sex manual. My book is a sex manual. I wrote it after a younger Muslim woman asked me how to have sex because they couldn't please their husband. It's not a long book, around 75 pages, but I think I do a good job of covering the basics. I was wondering if you would be open to reviewing a few chapters. I've been contacting Muslim women bloggers and institutions, and no one wants to come near it. I've really been disappointed by the response. I know it's a taboo topic for very conservative institutions, but I've contacted bloggers who always talk about how it's important for Muslim women to be sexually fulfilled in a relationship and to be educated sexually. But they've ignored me. It's sad because I've seen some of these bloggers advertise liberal Muslim groups and say, quote, unquote, take the good and leave the bad, when people point out that these groups minimize zina and some even promote it. But when I try to teach Muslim women how to please their husband, I'm ignored. Sorry for the last paragraph, it's a bit rant-like. I'm just disappointed with the response from Muslim women bloggers. Anyway, I was wondering if you could review the first few chapters. I would appreciate your perspective. If it's published, I'll send you a free copy. It'll be published on Amazon Kindle, since no Muslim publisher has agreed to publish it. And I'll mention you in the acknowledgements by either your Reddit name or your real name, whatever is your preference. After reading this, the sister and I went back and forth for a little while, and then basically I agreed to do the review. And I went one better, and I invited her on my podcast for an interview. Now, since She's doing this anonymously. She wants to keep her anonymity. So we've eventually agreed to a written interview. And also I've agreed, if she's interested, to write a blurb for her book when it's published. She sent me a draft of the manuscript, so I've read the entire book, and it's very good. But rather than review the book, what I thought I'd do is read you an excerpt of the draft to give you an idea of what's coming. Now, if you want to read the interview I have with her, it's on my website. The title of the post is the same title of this podcast. It will be called Based Gradma Writes Sex Manual for Muslim Wives. So if you want to read my review and the interview I have with Umm Al-Mulaadhaat, you can read that on my website. So I'm going to read to you an excerpt, and I'm trying to pick something that's not boring or not plain, but I don't want to really read something that's too risque or explicit, because this book is a book for Muslim women on how to sort of have sex with their husbands, and it might sound a little bit weird for me to be narrating from the perspective of a Muslim woman talking about what you have to do to your husband. So let's try the chapter that she's written on how to do a strip tease. So she writes, "The best place to strip is in your bedroom, provided you have enough space. The bed is right there, and you two have already associated the room with naughty time. If it's not large enough, the living room will have to do. If you're doing it in the living room and have kids, absolutely make sure there's no way they can come in the house at that time. This is reserved for a time when all the kids are at school or otherwise firmly separated from the building. Choosing what you wear when you strip is key. You have to plan so that you have layers of sexy clothing on. Nylons and garters are uniquely alluring. If you're going with this, wear your panties over the garter belt instead of under. This allows your husband to pull off your panties while leaving the garters and stockings intact. Over this, wear a skirt that's easy to take off. For your top, make sure you have a sleek bra and then choose something like a blazer on top. Saris are a super sexy outfit to wear when stripping. Some women might feel awkward doing this, but I'd recommend to keep adding layers until you're presentable enough to go outside. Meaning, wear a hijab or even a niqab. Going from fully covered, pious Muslimah to ravaging him in bed is part of the turn-on in a striptease. Set the mood by lighting bukhur or other incense. Remember, in a striptease, you are taking control. This is one where you're dominant. When he comes home from work, grab him by the wrist and take him to where you're going to strip for him. Push him firmly where he should sit. Give him a soft kiss and then walk away. As you walk away, make sure it's slow and seductive. Put some movement into your hips as you do so. When you get as far as you intend to, stop. Look over your shoulder while still facing away and take the outermost layer of your top off. Take a step back towards your husband. Put your hands on either side of your hips and lower your skirt or pants to the floor. Bend forward while you're doing this so that your butt is front and center for your husband. Each striptease will be different depending on what you're wearing. Your instinct might be to take off your hijab first. Switch it up though. Your husband might find the sight of you in a hijab and nothing else to be very sexy. When you're undoing your bra, again, do it slowly. Face the other way. Slip each shoulder strap down before undoing the bra from behind. Throw the bra at him over your shoulder. At this point, all he sees is your bare back. Then turn around and let him get a view of your breasts. A really good move to do to turn him on is to come up to him and sit down while straddling one of his thighs. Move up and down his thigh. Take it all the way to his knee and then grind your crotch into his knee. If you have the time, try doing a practice run by yourself before doing it with him. Even then, you might find that the first few times is awkward. That's fine. You have a lifetime to perfect it. For some couples, this isn't a turn-on. If that's you, that's fine. There are other ways to spice up your sex life. That's pretty good, right? And there's 36 chapters worth of this. I think it's going to be like a breakout success. Even the name is awesome. The Pure Muslimah's Guide to Very Dirty Sex. So what the sister's done, actually, she's planning to publish this book after Ramadan, sometime in July. And based on my recommendation, she set up a website with a landing page that you can go and sign up to a pre-sale list. Okay, let me get the link for you real quick. So what you can do is you can go here and subscribe, and then you'll be on her email list. And then when the book comes out, or when it's available for pre-order, you'll get informed by email. So the website is themuslimahsexguide.com, themuslimahsexguide.com, themuslimahsexguide.com. You can go there. It's a landing page. It's just got some basic info about the book. And at the very bottom of the landing page, there's a sign-up form where you can put your name and your email address, and then you'll be on the pre-sale list, and then you're going to get a free chapter of the book as well. And a lot of the chapters are very, very very good, very actionable, very practical. So this is a good get. Again, if you want to read my interview of the author Umm Al-Mulaadhaat, or you want to read my review, you can read it on my website. And the title of the blog post will be "Based Gradma Writes Sex Manual for Muslim Wives." Okay, that's pretty much it for this episode. And again, I would like to remind you, please leave me a rating and review on iTunes, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, because it helps other people find the podcast, and helps me rank higher in the iTunes algorithm. The way you do subscribe and leave a rating and review is via the iTunes app on whichever device that you use, either your PC or your Mac or your iPhone. Okay? Jazakumullah khair for listening. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.